Good afternoon. Welcome to the 5th Annual Lewis L. Gould Award 2025. I'm Nancy Keegan-Smith, the President of the First Ladies Association for Research and Education, and we are thrilled today to be doing our ceremony. When the First Ladies Association for Research and Education was just an idea of the 7 founders, one of the first decisions we made was that we wanted to set up an award to honor Professor Lewis L. Gould, the founder of First Ladies Studies, his excellence in pioneering First Ladies Studies, research, education, and promotion of the lasting legacies and impact of U.S. First Ladies. The Lewis L. Gould Award is presented by Flair on an annual basis to a scholar of excellence who follows in Lewis Gould's tradition, has done incredible research, education, mentoring, and fostering of the knowledge and impact and legacies of U.S. First Ladies. The previous Gould Award winners are Dr. Gould, Anita McBride, Catherine Algor, who joins us today, and Lita Black. It is my pleasure to not host this award and to turn it over to Chris Leahy, who was chair of this year's Gould Award Committee. Chris is professor of history at Keuka College, wrote an outstanding book on John Tyler, and with his wife, Sharon Leahy, has written a really interesting book that I look forward to reading on Julia Tyler, which is with UPK Press and is coming out, as I understand it, in the fall of 2026. Chris and Sharon have also written articles on other First Ladies. It is my pleasure to now turn the program over to Christopher.
Thank you, Nancy, for that kind introduction. I've had the pleasure of being this year's Gould Award Committee chair, and I would like to thank Anita McBride, Rebecca Boggs-Roberts, and Nancy Smith for serving on the committee with me. I truly appreciate all of your hard work. It is my further pleasure to announce that the winner of the 2025 Lewis L. Gould Award from the First Ladies Association for Research and Education is Holly Shulman, the principal editor of the Dolly Madison Digital Edition, a complete online edition of the papers of First Lady Dolly Madison. Dr. Shulman thus becomes the 5th winner of this prestigious award. I can personally attest to how valuable Dr. Shulman's work has been to American history in general and to First Ladies Studies in particular. My wife and I used several of the documents contained in the collection in our biography of Julia Gardner Tyler, and I have used several documents in the collection in the classroom when I taught my course on American First Ladies. Flair has asked Amy Larrabee Kotz to speak briefly about her association with Dr. Shulman. Then Catherine Alger, who nominated Dr. Shulman for the Gould Award, will explain the many reasons why Dr. Shulman deserves this richly deserves this award. Nancy Keegan-Smith will then offer remarks as a way to introduce Dr. Shulman. After Dr. Shulman's remarks, Nancy will conclude the program. It is my pleasure now to introduce Amy Larrabee Kotz.
Thank you, Chris. I am delighted to be here with all of you to celebrate the work of my mentor, colleague, and dear friend, Dr. Holly Shulman. Throughout her distinguished career, Holly has made invaluable contributions to our understanding of First Lady Dolly Payne Madison's life and times, and to the field of documentary editing. Holly's dedication to scholarly excellence and accessibility, while bringing that dynamic woman's words into the light, exemplifies the spirit of Flair's Lewis L. Gould Award. I first met Holly in 2008 while I was a research assistant at James Madison's Montpelier. By that point, she had already spent years locating, accessioning, transcribing, annotating, and publishing Dolly's letters. She co-authored the Selected Letters of Dolly Payne Madison, a rich and important source she edited with David Mattern in 2003. By the summer of 2008, she was ensconced in the Dolly Madison Digital Edition. to many of us simply as the DMDE. This online database, part of Rotunda's founding era platform, is not only the first born digital documentary edition, which Holly was instrumental in designing, it is the comprehensive collection of Dolly Madison's correspondence and non-epistolary documents. Both the DMDE and the selected letters were tremendously valuable to our work at Montpelier. The transcriptions, annotations, and editorial notes were, and remain, an essential source for the study of Dolly Madison and her world. And beyond those publications, the research staff at Montpelier, myself included, greatly appreciated Holly's generosity in sharing her research and pre-publication transcriptions for years. In 2012, Holly asked me to meet with her to discuss the Montpelier enslaved community I had been researching. To my delight, that conversation led to my consulting on the project. And what was initially a short-term gig turned into a collaboration that continues today, for which I am truly grateful. In 2021, the final installment of the DMDE was published. It now comprises some 3,600 documents, including everything from receipts and recipes to letters, legal documents, and poems. And it is still growing. Your scholarship, Holly, has reshaped the way we understand one of America's most remarkable First Ladies. And so it is with tremendous admiration that I congratulate you on receiving Flair's 2025 Louis L. Gould Award.
Thank you. How fitting that the First Ladies Association for Research and Education is honoring a scholar whose work centers on the woman who set the template for presidential lives, Dolly Payne Todd Madison. In her scholarship about Dolly, Holly C. Schulman has set her own template. Put simply, Holly Schulman is the world's expert on Dolly Madison. Not only does Dr. Schulman know more about Dolly's life, words, and work than anybody, she has also advanced the scholarly rigor and analytic depth of our field. No one is more deserving of the 2025 Louis L. Gould Award, and it is my honor to be asked to share some thoughts. Dr. Schulman has achieved this expertise by working in all aspects of the archival and research process, which must be an almost unparalleled feat in modern scholarship. Dr. Schulman began her involvement with Dolly Madison's papers at the most basic level. Working with notes left by James Madison biographer Ralph Ketchum, she and her colleagues at the Papers of James Madison assembled copies of all extant letters. She scoured archives and private collections all across the country to bring these far-flung materials together in one place, and of course, uncovering more materials along the way. Thus, Dr. Schulman performed the first, most basic function of the archivist, the collection and preservation of the primary sources. But she was just getting started. With colleague David B. Mattern, she produced a classic documentary edition of 300 letters to and from Dolly Madison with the University of Virginia Press. An exemplar of the form, this elegant volume has precise and illuminating documentation, citation, contextualization, etc. But of course, paper volumes have limitations. So in 2004, Dr. Schulman pioneered one of the first true electronic archives, the Dolly Madison Digital Edition, an early effort of the University of Virginia Press's Rotunda Press. It remains a benchmark of documentary excellence. Not only did the digital edition allow for constant revision and addition, but as technologies became available, Dr. Schulman and her team added search functions that scholars in the past could only have dreamt of. The new technology allowed the DMDE to expand to include materials beyond the to and from letters to ultimately include about 3,600 documents. Now, if this was the extent of Dr. Schulman's contribution to First Lady studies, that would be enough. But she is foremost a scholar. And from her first published writings, Dr. Schulman's intellectual and analytic sophistication truly transformed our field. And one early essay was, in fact, in the book, Louis L. Gould, American First Ladies, and it was about Dolly Madison. Dr. Schulman took on the popular stereotype of Dolly Madison as just a friendly lady who loved to give parties. revealing a savvy and effective political partner. In her analysis of Dolly Madison's efforts, Dr. Schulman also invited scholars to give serious considerations to the role of parties, clothing, jewelry, and even personality in Dolly Madison's political work. The public persona she created, argued Dr. Schulman, was less an expression of a personal aesthetic and more a tool of policy. In the past few decades, her Dolly Madison scholarship, published widely in essay collections and journals such as the Virginia Magazine of History and Biography, has only grown in historical significance and depth. Of a special note is her work on Dolly Madison and the issue of slavery, both her actual relationships with people she enslaved and her role as a lightning rod for the early abolitionist movement. Her essay, History, Memory, and Dolly Madison, Notes from a Documentary Editor in the Queen of America, is a standout. And I'm so pleased she is enlarging this study of the Montpelier years into a book. Dr. Schulman then has modeled the entire process of scholarly history, from the collection of papers to the production of high-quality evidence-based research. With her pioneering work with the Dolly Madison Digital Edition, she has also left resources for present and future scholars to continue the work. There is, however, another aspect of Dr. Schulman's career, particularly pertinent to the Gould Award, which values research and education, and indeed to the mission of FLAIR. Dr. Schulman has long worked as a public historian, writing for students and the general public, participating in panels, television programs, podcasts, etc. Dr. Schulman then came to FLAIR as an eminent public historian, and she has enhanced and enlarged all of our organization's efforts. Finally, I must add one more job to Dr. Schulman's slate, and that of mentor. I can truly say that my own work would not have been possible without her. Years before I attempted my own study of Dolly Madison, Dr. Schulman's analytic categories guided my work on women in politics in the early republic. If I had never met Holly and relied only on the resources she created, I would have been indeed well served. But luckily for me, I did get to meet Holly and eventually work with her, and I have benefited enormously from her wisdom, encouragement, and humor.
Thank you, Christopher, Catherine, and Amy, for your excellent remarks. And I will try and make my remarks on Holly not too repetitive, although there will be some repetition. I am so pleased that we are honoring Holly Schulman with the Gould 2025 award. I have known of Holly's work for a long time because I have used the Dolly Madison Digital Archives for years. She's also an outstanding scholar on other First Ladies. She did a great book called the Eleanor Roosevelt Encyclopedia, which she co-authored. Holly is both a biographer and a historian who holds 3 titles at the University of Virginia, including editor of the Dolly Madison Digital Edition. Holly is, as Catherine and the others have said, a preeminent expert on Dolly Madison. For her projects, she's an incredible researcher. I find her sort of like an archaeologist. She leaves no stone unturned and brings no preconceived theory to her work, which I think is so important and a model for a true historian. In 2007, the Dolly Madison Digital Edition was unveiled, a milestone work. It is the first ever complete Dolly Madison known correspondence which includes correspondence from private collections and from other places in the country, and it is searchable. And I've got to say, as my career as an archivist at the National Archives, it is a great tribute to Holly that it is wonderfully searchable. There are many digital projects that many of us may have used that do not search easily in terms of records. Dolly's project search, the Dolly Madison digital edition searches extremely easily, and that's a tribute to Holly. She also has followed the highest standards of documentary editing and digital publications. Additionally, as Catherine and the others have said, she fostered First Lady studies, and throughout her career, she has mentored numerous students with written articles and books that break the stereotypes on her subjects. And just one example, which Catherine alluded to, is even though Holly admired Dolly, she wrote a fascinating article exploring the thorny issue of Dolly Madison and slavery, demonstrating the complexities that important historical figures encounter. In summary, Holly meets the highest standards of excellence in education, teaching, mentoring, and pioneering research, fostering the knowledge of First Ladies that the Gould Award requires. It is with great pleasure that we give Holly this award. And I'm now going to ask Catherine to come in to present the award to Holly.
Holly, it's my honor to present to you the 2025 Flair Award, the Lewis L. Gould Award. And let me just read to you what is on this. Awarded to Dr. Holly C. Shulman in recognition of her work in creating and editing one of the first electronic archives for a First Lady, the Dolly Madison Digital Edition, and for her extensive career as a public historian and scholar promoting research and education in keeping with Dr. Gould's pioneering work in the field of First Lady studies. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, all of you. Thank you, Catherine. It's beautiful. For those, it's a little hard to show something in glass, but it is it's just lovely. And I feel, why don't you put it over there? I feel enormously honored to get this award and enormously pleased, happy, and encouraged by Flair, because within the history of women, there is a special place for First Ladies. And as was said, I started with Eleanor Roosevelt, who was always one of my heroines from when she was dead. Well, no, she died in 1962. So in my childhood, she was still alive and a great hero in my family and for myself. I would like to say a word about Lou Gould and the Gould Award. It makes me particularly happy to get a Lou Gould Award for a number of reasons. The first is that the first thing I wrote on Dolly Madison was about Dolly Madison for that collection that he put together. So in a way, Lou Gould got me started. The second is a little bit about media, because as you said, I created an electronically based, digitally born documentary edition with the Dolly Madison digital edition. But Lou Gould's father and my father were friends, and they were friends over another new technology, which at the time was television. Lou Gould's father was a media critic, and my father was a television producer. I want to go on to say a word about Catherine, who has always been extremely encouraging and has been really a very wonderful colleague, friend, mentor of mine. And in my work, what I do is Catherine has fully explored the topic of Dolly Madison as a political figure and a political influence. So my work, starting from what I'm doing now, leaves that to Catherine. She's done a brilliant job. I'm not going to ever try to redo anything she's done. So I am currently working on Dolly and her slaves and her childhood, and try to get another glimpse, a more personal glimpse, perhaps, of Dolly Madison, what her life was like, and what it meant to her to be a first lady, what it meant to her to retire to Montpelier, what it meant to her to be a widow, and first in Virginia and then in Washington, D.C. So in sum, I'm deeply honored by Flair. I'm deeply honored by this prize, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Holly. And it is just such a pleasure to honor a scholar of your expertise. I want to thank all for attending, the participants and the audience. Please be on the lookout for Flair's full variety of programming, including our virtual programs, our FLOTUS podcasts and transcripts, which are very popular, and our conferences and our electronic publications, which can always be found on our website at flair-net.org. Flair has had a banner year in 2025, and we look forward to 2026 with our important and timely mission of promoting research and education on the impact, importance, and lasting legacy of U.S. First Ladies, particularly in America 250. Thank you for